The following lesson is linked to Learning Outcome 3, Writing and Presenting. It addresses the assessment standard that requires learners to demonstrate planning skills for writing for a specific purpose, audience, and context. Learners should be able to decide on and effectively apply the appropriate style, point of view, and format of text.
Hello everyone, my name is Reno. Today we begin a new series of lessons on writing appropriately. In our previous series on writing appropriately, we learnt about various elements and styles of writing, how to gather information as well as how to record it. In this series, we will draw on what we know already about writing appropriately and take a further look at different types of compositions that require appropriate writing. Today, we are going to focus on the informal letter. As a result of rapidly advancing technology, many people have begun to communicate through email as opposed to written letters. Despite the time-saving element of an email, it is essential that you still have some feeling and understanding of how to write a letter. Being able to write an informal letter is a skill that is extremely important for you to know while you are still at school. By the end of this lesson, you will know the correct format of an informal letter and be able to discuss various aspects of style suitable for informal letters. Informal letters fall under the category of transactional writing. Transactional writing is writing for a specific purpose or function. This, however, definitely does not mean that letters cannot be fun and creative. Let's read a friendly letter together. Dear Sipho, congratulations on your first term results at the Technikon. After all your moaning and groaning, we all expected the worst, and now you have pleasantly surprised us. You still sound as if you're having a great time at the res. It must be fun to have lots of other students around to help you when you've got a problem and share any fun that's going. We've got plenty of plans for the July holidays. Wait till you hear them all. Lots of love, your favorite sister, Mbali. Before we can talk about the style of an informal letter, the first thing that has to be correct is the format. If you're just jotting a short note to a friend, it is not too important to use the correct format. However, for class assignments, it is essential that you set out your letter correctly. If you do set out your letter correctly, your recipient can save the letter and be able to tell where and when it was written. We're going to look at the letter again, making a note of the important aspects of the format. The sender's, in this case Mbali's address, is written in block form just over halfway across the page. Remember, no punctuation is included in the address or the date. Don't forget the postal code. The greeting is usually just dear, followed by the person's first name or another appropriate form of address, such as my dear grandmother. Here, Mbali has just used dear. Note that the paragraphs are written in block form with a line in between them. In the closing phrases, there are no commas. This writer has used two closing lines. Lots of love and your favorite sister. You can use just one closing sentence or phrase, but remember that it must be appropriate. Don't write a letter complaining about your neighbors throwing bottles into the yard and then write lots of love. Be more affectionate with those closer to you. Be a bit more conservative with those that aren't as close to you. Many people today use best regards to close their letters. It is warm without being too friendly. Some people prefer not to write dear at the beginning of a letter unless they are writing to somebody very close to them, like a family member or a girlfriend, a boyfriend. In English, however, dear is the correct way to begin a letter regardless of who it is directed at. Whether you are writing to friends, the president, your favorite kwaito artist, everybody is referred to as dear. Okay. Now that we know how to set out the letter, let's move our focus onto this lesson's idea and content. That is, the style of the letter. Style is the form of communication used depending on your audience and what purpose you have. Your diction, the words that you choose to use, will change depending on the situation and the person you are writing to. To communicate appropriately, you must choose a suitable style. If we are talking about an informal letter, the most obvious style would be informal, but you will now have to determine how informal to be. Let's take a look at two examples. Dear Claude, the cricket team's not the same without your fast bowling. Okay, we're less frightened when we have batting practice, but the school is going to battle when the matches start. The style of this letter is colloquial, which means it is relaxed and close to the style of spoken English. The tone is friendly. Now, before we continue, let's remind ourselves of what tone refers to. Tone refers to the mood or feeling conveyed in a piece of writing or an utterance. Tone can be described by adjectives such as humorous, sarcastic, sincere, etc. The writer has used the word teams instead of team is. That is a contraction. Contractions are found in colloquial English. There's another contraction over here in we're. Then we have this okay here at the beginning of the second sentence. That's very relaxed and sounds like common speech. Notice even is going to is used instead of will, and this makes the letter sound more relaxed and informal. Let's take a look at the next example. Dear Mrs. Sibeko, I'm afraid my child has left his exercise book at his grandfather's house. We shall be able to fetch it only on Friday. Please excuse him for not having his book. He will write all the work in his jotter and copy it into his book over the weekend. Can you see that this is still a friendly letter? The parent is writing to the Zulu teacher. They have met and know each other as acquaintances, but they are not friends. The tone of the letter, however, is still friendly. It is polite, but not coldly formal. My learners often ask me, how much colloquial language can I use in my letter? Can I use slang? Can I swear? My advice to them and to you is, if you are writing to a close friend or a family member, use colloquial language, like contractions, for example. Be careful of using slang in a letter you are going to submit for assessment. Slang is the kind of language that is specific to a particular group. So maybe your teacher might not even understand what you're talking about and possibly even feel left out. Slang is very often frowned upon in assignments. You may use some slang in context if it helps you to give a sense of the writer and the recipient, but do not let it dominate your compositions. And finally, never ever swear in a written assignment. Keep your audience in mind when you are writing. So, for example, stay away from slang if you are writing to your grandmother, or too many formal expressions if you are writing to a close friend. Even though your words may be grammatically correct, they would not be appropriate for the situation. In today's task, we are going to read a letter written by a fellow learner so that you can decide whether or not the style is appropriate. Read the following letter and assess it according to the following criteria. Has the writer used the correct format? Are the style and diction appropriate to the letter? Is the tone appropriate? Is the grammar correct? Mummy, I'm not happy for being alone at home. When you come home, I will buy you flowers so that you forget your visit to the mountains. Mummy, last night I was on a matric farewell function. I left the house alone. While I was away, a burglar entered at home and took the television and video cassette recorder. Now remember the assessment criteria. Look at the format. It looks correct, but is it correct? What about the style and diction? Have the appropriate words been used? A clue here is very much go to the second paragraph and then look carefully at style, diction, tone, and grammar. And very soon, the answers will be revealed. I am sure that you now feel confident about tackling a friendly letter. Join me next time to discover how to write a formal letter appropriately. Until then, goodbye.